Hi and welcome to JenTalks. This is part 3 of a series of talks on how to improve your self-esteem. And sorry, I was a bit distracted there. I was trying to activate my Instagram feed, but it's sorted now. So thanks very much for your patience. So just to recap, I always start a little recap if there has been a previous video. So there's been 2 videos previous to this on improving your self-esteem. So I just want to remind you of the tools and the techniques that I mentioned. So the first one was savoring. It was revisiting past challenges that you've overcome, personal wins. If you want to use the word successes, I know that's not a word that sits well with everybody, but for me, success is trying your best, just giving something your best. And if you can revisit a time in your life that you overcame something that was difficult for you, particularly if you thought it was something that was going to be bigger than you, what we do is we take a item, particularly something that is made of natural material that you can put some energy into. I love to do it at night. It doesn't have to be done at night. And you revisit that moment, whether it's during that day or it's way, way back in the past. And you revisit with as much vividness as you possibly can. A vivid picture in your mind, colors, sounds, smells, feelings, and the most important of all is connecting with the emotion. And the emotion that we're looking for there is the feeling of, feeling so proud of yourself that you've managed to overcome it. And then really giving yourself a pat on the back, literally saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm so proud. You did it. You absolutely did it. You knocked it out of the park. I'm so proud of you, and connecting with that emotion. And when you're holding your item, then if it is in bed when you're doing it, you can put that under your pillow, and the energy that you've put into that item emits through the night into every cell in your body. It doesn't have to be nighttime. If morning time is better for you, if you want to do it in your car, you want to do it on the bus, put it in your pocket. You can put it in a breast pocket, a chest pocket, a back pocket. You can put it somewhere where the energy is going to be transmuting into your body. So that's what we looked at on the first step in greater detail. Second one was owning all parts of yourself with love. So getting to know yourself, sitting in those dark moments, sitting in those raw emotions, sitting in those emotions that we've been trained to think are bad emotions. And I remind you over and over again, there are no bad emotions. There are good emotions. They are all feedback devices for what's actually going on with you. So have a look at it from the point of view of, is the emotion making me feel high, like a high vibrational emotion, or is it making me feel low? And then move into the acknowledgement of that emotion. I am feeling shame, I am feeling sad, I am feeling grief, I am feeling angry. Get curious about that emotion. I'm very curious as to why that's showing up for me. I wonder where that came from. I wonder where that was created in me. I wonder what happened back then that created that survival strategy for me. And then express. And express can be variable. It can be writing it down. It can be movement in the body, but it's energy has got to move, because all emotions are energy in motion. So they were our first 2 steps. Just to remind you, the acronym for that last exercise is ACE, ACE, acknowledge, curious, express. Now we're moving into, again, another element of getting to know yourself. It's your value system. So here's what really throws us out of sync with how we feel about ourselves. Remember, self-esteem is your estimation of yourself. And the level at which you estimate your worth is the level at which you allow into your life, attract into your life, and it's the level at which you operate at. So when you can raise that, even just one little step, everything else rises with it, so it's such a powerful tool, or even, I wouldn't even say tool, it's such a powerful element of you, such a powerful part of you. And it's the missing link between all the other things, that why you aren't consistent with yourself, why you don't keep your word to yourself, why you haven't got great self-care. Because if the foundations, which are the self-esteem that you're built upon, have cracks or wobbles along the way, then everything else built on top of that's also going to be a little bit cracked and a little bit wobbly. But we can go back in and we can strengthen them. So we mentioned step 1, we mentioned step 2, or when I say step, I mean video 1, video 2. You can just do one of them if that's what you wish. You don't have to do both. They're just options that I know work. Stretching yourself outside your comfort zone, doing things that are unusual for you are absolutely amazing at ways of building your self-esteem. But what I mean by building your self-esteem can also happen in the mind. You can imagine yourself in the future, in the present, as you want to be. So visualization is a huge part of moving outside your comfort zone and visualizing yourself there. So we've got two kind of elements that I'm going to try and cover in the short 5 minutes that I have left. One is values and the second one is visualization. So I'm going to start with visualization because it's very similar to the savoring exercise, and you can actually combine it or replace it if you wish. So where we talked about revisiting a memory that we did really well in, and we took all the vividness. So imagination multiplied by vividness equals reality according to the subconscious mind. But also, if we go forward into the future from the ideal point of view, we can practice stepping outside our comfort zone in our imagination. So for example, just say I wanted to take up public speaking and I had never done it before and I was really nervous about it, and I was going to go and stand in front of an audience. I can visualize myself in the auditorium. I can visualize the people in front of me. I can visualize myself saying the talk that I want to deliver, with me kind of feeling a little bit nervous, but also with me overcoming the nerves and it going and it being really successful. So I take myself on a journey into the future. And when I take myself there, visualization is one part, but the strongest element of that equation is the emotion, because emotion is the frequency and the language of the universe. So if I can feel into that emotion of feeling confident, feeling calm, feeling like I'm just totally at ease up there, I can tap into that memory, that pathway that I've recorded in my brain. Now, we can also add a trigger. For example, if I was to rub my earlobe as I was visualizing myself in the future and feeling all the emotions about doing the talk, even though I'm sitting in my kitchen or my bedroom, that when I then stand on the stage and I want to deliver the talk and I feel the nerves starting to rise, I can activate that emotion. I can recall it. It's called emotional recall. It's a technique used in neuro-linguistic programming. I'll call it emotional recall. It doesn't matter really what you call it as long as you use it. So Barack Obama would have a very famous one where he moves his ring. He's literally circling I think it's his wedding band, and he twists it around. And no doubt that that's him recalling an emotion that he's already programmed into his mind. So what we've done there is we have used the power of our imagination to look into the future from an ideal setting about where it is we want to go and what it is we want to do. So we're stepping outside our comfort zones in our mind, so that when we do step out of our comfort zones, we are in familiar territory. And surest thing for building your estimation of yourself and your self-worth and self and your value is to step outside your comfort zones. But you don't have to throw yourself off the cliff. You don't have to feel the fear and do it anyway. You can do it in your mind before you actually do it, so that your mind, when it's in new territory, it's actually familiar to the mind. So we don't have to activate that stress response where we start to panic. The last one then that I want to mention is values. If you want to value yourself, you have to get to know what you value. So think about it like this. What is important to you? One of the exercises a coach will do with you is a values exercise. I do it with my students. You can download a list of 100 values and you can highlight what ones are important. And we want to know not only what our values are, but what our core values are. And our core values are our non-negotiables. So for me, it's fairness, honesty, compassion, and freedom. Sorry. That's my dog barking. Just trying to mute this now. So sorry about that, guys. Normally I have a dog sitter when I'm doing my live talks, but he's at band rehearsals tonight, so apologies for that. Hope that didn't disrupt the talk too long. Just to come back and say about values, we have core values. We have values, which is what is important to us in life. It might be security, it might be family, it might be travel, it might be honesty. And we know there are lots of things that are important to us, but then we also want to narrow them down into core values. And our core values are our non-negotiables. And how we know that there are non-negotiables is because when those buttons are pressed, that's when we start to get agitated. And we're probably going to be more likely to speak up or to act on it, because it's quite difficult for us to, I suppose, live with those values being ignored or not being honored. So one of the key parts of lifting your self-esteem is, first of all, getting to know your core values. And then secondly, going from that to, okay, well, now that I know them, so say, for example, you have a list of 100 values, you manage to get them down to 20, then what you want to do then is have that group down to 10, and then say, from that 10 group, how can I pick the top 5? You might have 3 core values, you might have 5. Maximum, really, you want to be working between 5 and 7. But really, there's no right or wrong way, because realistically, you are the expert of you, so you know what's important to you versus what's not so important to you. And when we know our core values, then the next part of the work is, how are these values being honored or respected in my life? What would my life look like if these values were honored? And what can I do to honor these values in my life? Now, that's 3 questions that I've just sported out, on this talk, but they are big questions. They are there to be reflected, as is a values exercise. So I would say take your time with it. You can take it over a day, a month, a year, if that's what it takes. But that piece of work in itself is so valuable, because when you're being asked to do something, or when you're involved in an equation, whether it's a relationship, a job, a project, a transaction, if you bring it back to, like, does this honor my values? Are my values being respected here? Does this sit with my values? It's a huge part of getting to know yourself. And here's the thing, when I do this exercise with students and groups and clients, most of the people say to me, do you know what? Nobody's ever asked me that before, Jenny, or I've never thought about that before. We kind of know what's important to us, but we don't really spend time to sit down and go, yeah, but what's really important to us? And when we're making big decisions in life, it's really important for us to know that. So if you do want a copy of a values exercise, feel free to DM or PM or email, whatever works for you. I can send you one out, but you can also Google them. Just Google values exercise. And ideally, the most important thing is that you do what works for you, and not some blanket solution that everybody in the world is going to try. Everybody has a different way of doing it. Some people just literally write down all the things that are important to them, all the words, and then they kind of try and cut them down, or they might rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, which of these is the most important, from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down. And then you can try and have that list again. There's a few different ways you can do it, but the most important thing is that you do it. You stop, you pause, you have a think about it, and you follow through. So we've had savoring, we've had sitting in our emotional discomfort and getting to know all of ourselves and showing compassion for it. We have had visualization, and we have had emotional recall, and now we've had our values exercise. So give them a try. The most important thing is that you're working to improve your self-esteem. And next week's talk is going to be about quieting that voice that keeps beating you up and judging you and telling you how terribly looking photographs, or why did I have to say that stupid thing, or why am I not doing this? That's just constantly beating you up. How to address that, and how to really grab a hold of it and basically shut it up, so you can have a peace in your mind. Okay, so guys, I'll see you back here next week. Thank you again, as always, for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend.